The Ukrainian forces are pushing away Russian troops in border Sumy region in northeastern Ukraine and have recaptured Andriivka settlement in Sumy, the General Staff of Ukrainian Armed Forces said in a statement on Monday. Our troops are holding the defense along a designated line, carrying out preparations and implementing counteroffensive actions to drive out the enemy. As a result of successful actions by Ukrainian soldiers, the settlement of Andriivka has been liberated. Additionally, our units advanced near Alekseyevka, pushing the enemy further away from Sumy, according to the statement. The General Staff revealed that the active operations of the Ukrainian army in both the direction of Sumy and Russia's Kursk region have stopped a grouping of Russian forces numbering around 50,000 troops, preventing them from being redeployed to other critical parts of the front, particularly in the Pokrovske and Novopavlivske areas in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. The Ukrainian forces are pushing away Russian troops in border Sumy region in northeastern Ukraine and have recaptured Andriivka settlement in Sumy, the General Staff of Ukrainian Armed Forces said in a statement on Monday. Our troops are holding the defense along a designated line, carrying out preparations and implementing counteroffensive actions to drive out the enemy. As a result of successful actions by Ukrainian soldiers, the settlement of Andriivka has been liberated. Additionally, our units advanced near Alekseyevka, pushing the enemy further away from Sumy, according to the statement. The General Staff revealed that the active operations of the Ukrainian army in both the direction of Sumy and Russia's Kursk region have stopped a grouping of Russian forces numbering around 50,000 troops, preventing them from being redeployed to other critical parts of the front, particularly in the Pokrovske and Novopavlivske areas in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. Nonetheless, Ukrainian forces are inflicting heavy losses on Russians. In June 2025 alone, over 9,300 Russian soldiers were neutralized in the Northern-Slobozhanskyi and Dniproterovsk region and Kursk areas, with at least 4,470 killed, approximately 4,800 wounded, and 42 captured, according to Ukrainian military.
The Ukrainian Defense Forces launched a high-precision missile strike on the base of one of the elite units of the Russian army in the occupied Polohi area of the Zaporizhia region. This was reported by the Telegram channel Spy Dossier, which is close to the Russian Armed Forces. The operation was carried out last week, on June the 18th. Under the rubble of the destroyed shelter were soldiers of the 346th Separate Special Forces Brigade of the Russian Armed Forces, Military Unit 31681, based in the city of Prokladny, Kabardino-Balkaria. According to the source, after the strike, the building where the personnel were located completely collapsed. The occupiers who were hiding inside died from suffocation due to the collapse and lack of air. In total, 11 Russian military personnel were reported to have become Cargo 200. Among those eliminated are key figures of the brigade. In particular, Alexander Volkov, known by the call sign Mongoose, who served as Chief of Staff. Also on the list of the dead are Alexander Kunsaitis and Eduard Shamishin. The 346th Spetsnaz Brigade is one of the most trained formations of the Russian forces, which is actively participating in the war against Ukraine. The losses of such a level of enemy command testify not only to the professionalism of Ukrainian intelligence and fire forces, but also to the depth of penetration of the Ukrainian armed forces at the tactical level, even into the deeply echeloned defense of the enemy. It was previously reported that on June the 21st, a drone strike was carried out on a Russian army rail train transporting fuel near the settlement of Molochansk in Zaporizhia region. As a result, 4 tankers completely burned out. The fire strike brought the train to a halt. The Russians then uncoupled 19 cars, but the attack continued on them. As a result, a fire destroyed 4 fuel tanks. In addition, one of the drones also hit an escort vehicle, a Niva. 2 Russian servicemen were killed, Sergeant T.V. Bitarov and Junior Sergeant A.S.H. Twaev. and on June the 20th in temporarily occupied Tokmak in Zaporizhia, a base of Russian Invaxders was hit. According to preliminary data, the hit was in the place where groups of enemy UAV operators were located. Military political observer of the information resistance group, Alexander Kovalenko, commented on the question of whether one should expect surprises from the Ukrainian Armed Forces on the territory of Russia or Belarus. They are entirely possible. We never refuse to carry out such actions on enemy territory, because for us it is useful and important, despite the criticism of the Kursk operation, he emphasized in an interview with Glavred. The expert is confident that any operations of the Ukrainian Armed Forces similar to Kursk, which will have a similar effect, will be useful for Ukraine, and this applies not only to operations on the territory of the Russian Federation. So far, Belarus has not given us any reason to start such an operation on its territory. If some threat is realized from Belarusian territory, we will have grounds to start an operation there. So far, there are no such grounds. He does not rule out. The interlocutor notes that the same situation is with Transnistria, from where the threat to Ukraine comes. We would be all for clearing out Transnistria, but there must be a reason, a pretext to use our troops, and we also need a corresponding request from Chisinau, he explained. The expert is also confident that the Ukrainian Armed Forces need a pretext to begin an operation on Belarusian territory. It's not 2022 now, unless Lukashenko does something, and he won't do that, because he's acting in a balanced manner, even trying to improve relations with the United States and get certain preferences for himself, demonstrating openness and loyalty to the administration of the 47th US president. Although it would be very interesting if, during Keith Kellogg's visit to Minsk, Ukraine launched an operation on the territory of Belarus, reached Minsk and brought Kellogg to his daughter in Kiev. That would be a number. So I think such operations on the territory of Russia or Belarus are quite possible, Kovalenko added. Let us recall that military exercises were previously held in Belarus near the Ukrainian border under the leadership of the chairman of the Gomel District Executive Committee. The exercises included the reception of conscripts, the restoration of command staff skills, and the preparation of the military to perform tasks together with engineering units. The Belarusian command also returned units of the armed forces to the border area with Ukraine, where they were until September to October 2024. The total number of redeployed units is about 1,500 people. However, at the moment, these forces do not pose a threat to Ukraine.